Page 169, How the Pope receiveth his kingdom of the devil, and how he distributeth it again. Shortly the kingdoms of the earth and the glory of them which Christ refused, Matt 4, did the devil proffer unto the Pope, and he immediately fell from Christ, and worshipped the devil, and received them. By the false head, as he maintaineth them, came he hitherto, and by false head do all his disciples come thereto. Who of 101 is pope, bishop, or any great prelate, but either by necromancy or simony, or waiting on great men's pleasures, and with corrupting of God's word, and fashioning it after their lusts? And the Pope, after he had received the kingdom of the world of the devil, and was become the devil's vicar, took up in like manner all Christendom on high, and brought them from the meekness of Christ unto the high hill of the pride of Lucifer, and shewed them all the kingdoms of the earth, saying, Fall down and worship me, and I will give you these. Unto the spirituality he saith, Fall from Christ and preach me, and take thou that cardinalship, thou that bishopric, thou that abbotship, and so forth, thou as many benefices as thou wilt, and the dispensation for what thou wilt, and to monks and friars in like manner. Take thou that hole, and thou that nest, with what privileges ye will desire, and dispensations of your rules, if ye will preach me. And unto the temporality he saith, First to the emperor, If thou wilt fall down and kiss my feet, and swear to hold of me, and to defend me, I give thee the empire. And to all kings in like manner, if they will swear to defend his liberties, and to hold of him, he crowneth them. And even so all temporal lords, from the highest unto the lowest, and all officers, and all manner subjects, if they will enjoy lands, rents, offices, goods, and their very lives, they must run the same way. The very whores, God's honorable unregarded, as long as they despise not him and his ordinances, they shall nest in his rents and among his prelates. And the thieves and murderers shall have dens in his sanctuaries, whatsoever they do against God, so long as they hang on him. The apostles chose priests to preach Christ only. All other things laid apart, and chose none but learned and virtuous. The Pope shaveth whosoever cometh lever out of the stews then from study, and when they be sworn, he sendeth them all into great men's houses to preach his Godhead, to be stewards, surveyors, receivers, and counselors of all manner mischief, to corrupt wife, daughter, and maid, and to betray their own master, as oft as it needed to promote their falsehood withal. For thereto are they sworn together, and when they have done all mischief, there shall no man wot whence it cometh. The apostles chose deacons to minister the alms of the rich unto the poor, and to help the deacons they chose widows of 60 years old, holy and destitute of friends, to tend the sick. And the Pope, instead of such widows, maketh whosoever cometh, whether she be young or old, but none save them that be rich and able to pay 20, 30, or 40 pound for their profession, to whom for as much more he will give a dispensation on the morrow to marry again. And instead of such deacons, he maketh both deacons and subdeacons, which do nothing at all, but are vain names without office, except it be that on some holy day, instead of ministering the goods of the church unto the poor, they sing an epistle or gospel to beg more from the poor. And as his deacons minister the goods of the church unto the poor, even so do his priests preach Christ's gospel unto the flock. And the alms that was given to the sustentation of the poor, which thou shalt read in stories that it was in some cities above 20, 30, and 40, yea, 100,000 pound, and all the lands given for the same purpose, they have stolen from them, and have divided it among themselves, and therewith did they at the beginning corrupt the great men of the world, and climb up to this height where they now be. And for that have they striven among themselves this 800 years, and to maintain that which they have falsely gotten, hath the Pope stirred up a sword of war in all Christendom this 800 year, and hath taken peace clean out of the world. When the bishops, priests, and deacons were fallen, and had received of the Pope the kingdom that pertained unto the poor people, and had robbed them, and parted their patrimony among themselves, then sprang the orders of monks, whose profession was to abstain from flesh all their lives, to wear vile raiment, to eat but once a day, in the day, and that but butter, cheese, eggs, fruits, roots, and such things that were not costly, and might everywhere be found. And they wrote books, and might wrought divers things to get their living withal. But when laymen saw that the priests were fallen into such covetousness, and that the monks were so holy, they thought, these be meet men to minister our alms unto the poor people, for their profession is so holy that they cannot deceive us as the priests do, and made the monks tutors and ministers unto the poor, and gave great lands and riches into their hands to deal it unto the poor. When the monks saw such abundance, they fell after the ensample of the priests, and took dispensations of the Pope for their rules and straight profession, which now is as wide as their cowls, and divided all among them, and robbed the poor once more. And out of the abbeys took he the most part of his bishoprics and cathedral churches, and the most part of all the lands he hath. Besides that, there remain yet so many mighty abbeys and nunneries thereto. Hold on. That's real good. Crazy world. As soon as the monks were fallen, then sprang these begging friars out of hell, the last kind of caterpillars, in a more vile apparel and a more strait religion, that, if aught of relief were left among the laymen for the poor people, these horse leeches might suck that also, which drone bees, as soon as they had learned their craft and had built them goodly and costly nests, and their limiters had divided all countries among them to beg in, and had prepared livings of a certainty, though with begging. Then they also took dispensations of the Pope, for to live as largely and as lewdly as the monks. And yet unto the laymen, whom they have thus falsely robbed, and from which they have divided themselves, and made them a several kingdom among themselves, they leave the paying of toll, custom, and tribute, for unto all the changes of the realms will they not pay on one mite, and the finding of all the poor, the findings of scholars for the most part, the findings of these foresaid horse leeches and caterpillars, the begging friars, the repairing of the highways and bridges, the building and reparations of their abbeys and cathedral churches, chapels, colleges, for which they send out their pardons daily by heaps, and gather £1,000 for every 100 that they bestow truly. If the lay people have war, or whatsoever charge it be, they will not bear a mite. If the war be theirs, as the one part almost of all war is to defend them, they will with falsehood make them bear the greatest part. Besides that, they must leave their wives and children, and go fight for them, and lose their lives. And likewise, in all their charges they have cast to poll the lay people. The Scots cast down a castle of the Bishop of Durham's on the Scottish bank, called Norham Castle, and he got at pardon from Rome for the building of it again, wherewith I doubt but he gat for every penny that he bestowed 3. And what do they with their store that they have in so great plenty everywhere, so that the very begging friars in short space to make a cardinal or a pope of their sect, or to do what feat it were for their profit, would not stick to bring above a king's ransom? Verily, make goodly places and parks of pleasure, and gay shrines, and painted posts, and purchase pardons, wherewith they will still pull and pluck away that little wherewith the poor, which perish for need and fall into great inconveniencies, might be somewhat holpen and relieved, and lay up in store to have all way to pay for the defending of their faith, and for to oppress the truth. One more, how the Pope made him a law, and why. After that, the Pope with tyranny was clomb up above his brethren, and he had made all the spiritually his subjects, and had made of them and him a several kingdom among themselves, and had separated them from the lay in all things, and had got privileges that whatsoever they did no man should meddle with them. And after also he had received the kingdoms of the earth of Satan, and was become his vicar to distribute them. And after that the emperor was fallen in like manner at his feet, and had worshipped him as a god to receive his empire of him. And all kings had done likewise to be anointed of him, and to be crowned of him. And after that the world, both great and small, have submitted themselves to receive the beast's badge. Then, because the Christ doctrine was contrary unto all such kingdoms, and therefore had no law therein, how to rule it, he went and made him a several law of his own making, which passed in cruelty and tyranny the laws of all heathen princes. And in his law he thrust in feigned gifts of old emperors that were out of memory, saying that the emperor Constantine had given up the empire of Rome unto Saint Sylvester, which is proved a false lie for divers causes. One, that Saint Sylvester, being so holy a man as he was, would not have received it contrary to his master's commandments and doctrine. Another, that the emperors reigned in Rome many years after, and all the bishops sued unto the emperor, and not to the pope, which was but bishop of Rome only, and not called father of fathers. Moreover, that no authentic story maketh mention that any emperor gave them their patrimony, but the Papine, which falsely and with strength invaded the empire, gave it unto him. Then put he in the grant of Focus, then the gift of Papine confirmed by the great Charles, then a feigned release of the election of the Pope given up again unto the Pope Paschal by the Emperor Louis. For they themselves had granted unto Charlemagne and his successors forever the election or denomination of the Pope and bishops, to flatter him withal, and to make him a faithful defender, and that in a general council, which, as they say, cannot err. Nevertheless, Pope Paschal, though he believed the council could not err, yet he taught them somewhat overseen to make so long a grant, and therefore he purchased the release of gentle Louis, as they pretend. But verily it is more likely that they feigned that grant to excuse their tyranny after they had taken the election into their hands again with violence, when the emperors were weak and not able to resist them, as they feigned the gift of Constantine after they had invaded the emperor with subtlety and falsehood. And, last of all, they brought in the oath of Otho, with the order that now is used to choose the emperor.